Here's your wrestling news for March 23rd, 2023, and we're kicking off today with AEW Dynamite as the Young Bucks were attacked moments before the show began. Outside the arena, Kenny Omega had to be held back by Don Callis while Adam Page went to the hospital with the Bucks, but the attention of a lot of fans was on what was happening in the background. Given that this scene was outside, the background included an AEW production truck, and on social media, many fans pointed out that CM Punk's face had been covered by a piece of cardboard. Now, depending on how you see this could be another sign that Punk's career with AEW is done, and that the company doesn't want fans thinking about the two-time former world champion. On the other hand, some have taken this as a sign that Punk is returning, as those in AEW would be well aware that covering his face on the production truck would only draw more attention to him. It's also worth remembering that this segment did not have to be filmed in front of this particular production truck, and that if AEW really wanted to avoid Punk's face being on TV, there was no shortage of options. It's been nearly 7 months since Punk's comments and involvement in the backstage fight at All Out, and he remains one of the most discussed names in wrestling. And what do you think this cover-up meant during this week's Dynamite? This week's Dynamite also saw Darby Allin in action, and the company subtly hinted at what could be the main event of their next pay-per-view, Double or Nothing. On the show, Allin, alongside Orange Cassidy and Sting, defeated Kip Sabian, The Butcher, and The Blade, and had an interesting moment after the match. After his win, Allin stared intently at a graphic for Double or Nothing, and it's clear that the former TNT champion has big plans for the event. Immediately after this match, a promo aired highlighting the four pillars of AEW, namely Allin, Sammy Guevara, Jack Perry, and the AEW World Champion MJF. These four men also shared the ring last week during MJF's Rebar Mitzvah, and we believe that the timing of all of this is far too interesting to be mere coincidence. It's clear that AEW is setting the scene for a fatal four-way between the four pillars of AEW, which is expected to take place at Double or Nothing. While AEW has a fantastic roster of young talent, the world title picture has often been dominated by older ex-WWE names, and a fatal four-way will be a huge statement by the company in May. Now, yesterday we reported on Tony Khan, who is keeping an eye on wrestling's biggest free agent right now, Bill Goldberg. Speaking in an interview, Khan says he has a lot of respect for the former WCW World Champion, and at least one name on AEW's roster hopes a deal can be struck. On Twitter, Swerve Strickland responded to the rumors that Goldberg could head to AEW for a retirement match and said, "Give him to me." While fans have been pretty much unified against the idea of Khan signing Goldberg, it was reported back in 2019 that the AEW president wanted Goldberg for his new company. Whether that is still the case after all these years later, that's difficult to say. But if a deal can be reached between Khan and Goldberg, Swerve Strickland will be ready for the WWE Hall of Famer. Bill Goldberg is currently a free agent after his WWE contract expired last December, and the two sides did not reach an agreement. The former WCW World Heavyweight Champion had been under one deal or another with WWE since 2016, and now we know more about Goldberg's position and what exactly happened in his final days with WWE. Sean Ross Sapp noted behind Fightful's paywall that Goldberg's free agency is nothing new, and that his contract with WWE officially expired on December 31st, 2022. Tony Khan has said that he is following Goldberg's situation closely, and it turns out he's not the only one, as Fightful reports that several companies have shown interest in Goldberg, including one in Israel. It was not noted which companies are interested in Goldberg, but the one in Israel might be a possibility, as Goldberg has said that he wants his last match to take place in Israel. Whether Goldberg gets his final match in Israel or not, he's a huge star in wrestling with a lot of drawing potential. And what do you think of Goldberg, and who should his final match be against? WrestleMania news now, as it's hardly a surprise that WWE is bringing in their biggest names for their biggest event of the year, and one injured superstar may be making an appearance. In May of last year, Randy Orton went down with a severe back injury and hasn't competed since he and Matt Riddle lost the Raw Tag Team Championships to the Usos. PW Insider reports that there are currently plans to bring Orton in for WrestleMania in Los Angeles, which will seemingly mark Orton's return to the road. While a match next weekend is not going to happen, it's entirely possible that the Viper could appear on the show, especially given that Night 1 will be on his 43rd birthday. WWE booking Randy Orton to be at WrestleMania is certainly a good sign for the Viper's future in the company, but there's still no word on the status of Riddle, who hasn't appeared for WWE since last December. Orton said not long before his injury that he'd like to continue wrestling for another decade. And while this hiatus has taken a good chunk out of those 10 years, it hopefully won't be long before he's back in the ring. Speaking of WrestleMania, the biggest event of the year is just 9 days away, and there's been a lot of questions about the status of Stone Cold Steve Austin. It wasn't long after his impressive performance last year that WWE began trying to coax the Rattlesnake back into the ring, with offers of Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns as potential opponents being rumored. As we know, these matches won't be happening, and during an appearance on Ryan Satin's Out of Character podcast, Austin remained coy when asked about his wrestling future. Well, never say never. If the stars align again, hell, it could happen again, right? Austin also spoke highly of John Cena, adding that a match with the 16-time WWE World Champion would have been epic. It has been pitched for Austin to do something with L.A. Knight at WrestleMania 39, who suspiciously isn't booked for a match on the show. And is this the right match for Austin? Or do you want to see the Texas Rattlesnake face somebody else next weekend? Stone Cold Steve Austin may just be days away from competing at WrestleMania 39, but Bray Wyatt's status for the Showcase of the Immortals is looking increasingly worse. Wyatt hasn't been seen on WWE programming in weeks, and there was no mention of him or his rumored opponent Bobby Lashley during this week's Raw. It has been reported that Wyatt has been out with a medical issue, and when Ringside News asked around, they were told that Bray has yet to be cleared to compete due to what people in WWE are calling a health issue. They were also told that his match at WrestleMania hasn't been 100% scrapped yet, though it is certainly looking like it will be soon enough. On social media, Lashley has been distancing himself from the Wyatt feud, even saying that he's worked too hard to be denied, and someone will feel the wrath of the Almighty. Wyatt returned in epic fashion at Extreme Rules last October, but some have said that his return to WWE has been flat since then, and it looks increasingly clear that Bray, and therefore Uncle Howdy, won't be at WrestleMania 39. But what do you think should happen with Wyatt? And who do you expect Lashley will face at WrestleMania instead? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Now, it's been a couple of weeks since Roxanne Perez fainted following a successful NXT Women's Championship defense against Meiko Satomura. With her future in question, Shawn Michaels has announced that an NXT Women's Champion will be crowned at Stand and Deliver, and Tiffany Stratton, Zoe Stark, Gigi Dolan, and Lyra Valkyria have all qualified for that ladder match. Sol Ruka, Indy Hartwell, and Ivy Nile will compete next week in a last chance three-way for the final spot in the match, but it's entirely possible that one of these women won't be the final participant. PW Insider reports that Perez is set to be part of Stand and Deliver, meaning it's likely she will be a last-minute addition to the ladder match. Fans of Perez will be pleased that she isn't going to be stripped of the NXT Women's Championship, as despite Michaels promising a new champion at Stand and Deliver, he opted not to strip her of the gold. As for what exactly caused WWE to pull Perez from programming, that's still a mystery. And do you want to see Perez win at Stand and Deliver? Or should somebody else become NXT Women's Champion? And we're ending today with WWE, who last year implemented several name changes as a policy of removing any real names, which resulted in Austin Theory, real name Austin White, becoming just Theory. It wouldn't be until September that Theory got his first name back, and when speaking to Chris Van Vliet, explained that he was told about this by a simple text from WWE, which read, "You're Austin Theory." Whether he's Austin Theory or just Theory, the US champion has proven himself on WWE TV and will continue to make a name for himself with his match against John Cena at WrestleMania 39.